Are human beings a species that are truly inclined with our intuition, able to tap into our innermost self and identify, recognize, and understand an experience? Do we perceive and judge life to the degree of intelligence? Today, let's unravel the concept of discernment. Welcome to Chronicles with Stephie. Think of a word, a positive word, and it may just be a chronicle shared in this space. Let's make life more meaningful. Beautiful people of the world, hello! Happy new month, happy new week. I hope you have been as blessed as I am. It's been quite an interesting week for me, so much so that I did not know if an episode was going to come out this week or even for the month of July, because it's been quite an interesting week, quite an interesting experience that I've had. And I guess I just needed to regroup. I guess I needed to just be in my little corner as per usual and just regroup. And as a result, I was able to discern the voice of God and what He needed me to impart to everybody today on Chronicles with Stephie. And as a result, we have the Chronicle of Discernment. So if this is something that you think or know will interest you, or if you just enjoy listening to my voice, welcome to Chronicles with Stephie, Season 4, the episode on discernment. The word discernment is derived from the word discern, a noun, which is defined as the ability to intelligently determine or judge and comprehend people, things, or situations and experiences clearly or well. Whew! That was a mouthful, but yeah, that is the definition. Now, in spiritual terms, we refer to the chronicle as spiritual discernment, and that's precisely where I'm leading this episode today. Godly wisdom is derived through seeking and asking our Creator questions or answers that we need an epiphany about, and the reasons, believe you me, are many. We ask God for clarity in our purpose, and if you don't know, you now know. My very first episode was about purpose, so please re-listen or listen to my very first episode on this podcast. It's very enlightening. Thank you. We ask God to aid us in determining the right job or place of abode, right partner, investment to make, scripture to read, prayer to pray, and of course, the list becomes extensive. I can't get into so many. But we ask God for so many things. Well, it's my hope that we ask God for so many things. We ask Him to lead us in the right direction, because our human experience is derived of various circumstances, and that includes people and things that challenges our ability to discern an outcome and make rational decisions. It's probably not as easy as a phenomenon as you may think, because a lot of it has to do with self-awareness and penultimate self-preservation. For me, as a woman who seeks after God's heart, it is imperative for me to be able to rely on God, to trust Him for guidance so that, I can navigate this very tricky human experience, especially as a female. His wisdom, helps me to discern, and not only discern, but to protect me. And I'm very protective of me. Now, if we know the book of Proverbs is a lovely, if not the most lovely book in the Bible that eschews wisdom, proverbial wisdom at that, and it takes patience to be able to fully understand what the book of Proverbs teaches us. With that said, Proverbs 3 verse 5, everyone should know this. And I start with it to lead all the points of today's podcast. It says, trust in the Lord with all thine heart. Lean not unto thine own understanding. In all our ways, we should acknowledge God, and He shall direct our paths. Now, human beings are 9 times out of 10 going to rely on their own perceptions, understanding, comprehension, you name it. Because after all, we live in our egos mostly and truly believe that our assumptions about life are steadfast and true. We often become disappointed. Yeah, that's true. We often become disappointed with an outcome that we thought we discerned intelligently. It fails us. Trusting in our own hearts underpins the emotional turmoil we face because we rely so heavily on self to determine every single outcome. We prolong even accepting that some things are inevitably out of our control. So I guess that's where discernment comes in, right? Right. I was reading a scripture passage 2 days ago that said, non-verbatim by the way, the more knowledge we acquire, the more sorrow ensues. No, please don't quote me on it because I don't remember the scripture in its entirety at the moment. But hey, Google never fails in providing basic responses, right? So go do the do. But I share a sentiment that life is but very simple and it is living that is hard. I think I've said that in previous episodes. And you can feel free to comment your own thoughts. I say that because if you were to take a pen and paper right now and write down what makes a great life, I'm sure you'll fill the pages with mostly tangible experiences. You fill it with, persons and all the places you'd like to visit, all the historical artifacts you'd love to see, all the Ferrero Rocher you'd love to indulge in, and on the list would ensue. If those things are not to exist though, and this is where the challenge comes in, and you didn't have knowledge of those specific aspects in your life, what would you then write down? Challenge yourself to rid your mind on what you think you may want and start thinking about what you know you need. And there commences the journey of discernment. It's those attributes that are innate that we truly need for survival that, we should be able to intelligently recognize and judge well. It should be, extremely apparent to oneself the experiences we need to indulge in that will feed knowledge of self rather than knowledge of the entire world. And then perhaps we can start small, taking baby steps in the newness of life, because every day is new. Every day we are given birth of life is a new experience. We may encounter the same things, the same people, the same circumstances, the same job, the same home, the same people, partner, finances, etc. But what if we look at all of life with a fresh pair of eyes, new set of eyes, experiencing it as though it's the first time? Could it be that then we would no longer lean onto our own understanding of things? And fully rely on our Creator to direct each step we take? I don't know myself, it's just food for thought. As human beings, we selfishly put on an armor of survival and caution when faced with adversity because, we are innate defenders of ourselves, right? Nobody can touch me, nobody can, make them run at you, Put on that full armor of fight mostly, rather than flight. But hear me out, if we could go to God first in every experience and seek Him out, like fully seek Him out, to be in His presence before we acted upon anything, do you think it would be easier and more pure to discern, for example, let's say, making a tough decision? As human beings, we are faced with decision making at every turn, every angle. Could we discern, for example, determining the course of our lives with intent and with purpose, intelligently waiting on or choosing the missing rib that God has for you, your partner, your lifelong partner? Could we discern, for example, loving unconditionally? And when I say unconditionally, I mean unconditionally, not just the cute parts of an individual or an experience that presents itself to you. Are you capable of moving past the superiorness of it and going deep and loving unconditionally? Could we maybe discern, for example, exercising right from wrong? How do we discern the spirits that are in the world, which are pure, of good intentions, that mean us well, that keep their word, that are present and protective? How do we discern the good apples versus the bad ones? When we go to the market and we're looking and feeling and touching, how do we discern the positive experiences versus the negative ones, the wise versus the fools, the loving versus the unloving, the emotional stable versus the emotional unstable, the loose ends versus the secure ones? How do we discern these things? How do we discern the logical versus the illogical spirits? How do we discern to begin with? How are we taught to discern? What resources exist to guide us into discernment? Gems, the only answers I sought to lighten onto my mind this week were from God. Because I've been in my period of learning and unlearning. I've been in my period of waiting patiently to be able to see through my spiritual eyes what God needs me to see, hear through my spiritual ears what God intends for me to feel through my spiritual flesh, what God intends for me to feel, but most importantly, think with my spiritual mind the thoughts He has towards and for me, so that when I'm open my mouth to speak in this form or in my daily living experiences with others, I do so intelligently and with intent. I do so with a conviction of authenticity and purity from a place of peace, and unconditional love, because I am standing on the firm foundation of what I ask God to reveal to me. I'm not blindsided, because one thing I don't like experiencing in this life is people coming at me sideways. So I try to stay 10 toes down and ready, to be able to discern any experience that this life may present itself towards me with. And it is my prayer that your love may abound more and more with knowledge and all discernment, so that you may approve what is excellent, and so be pure and blameless for the day of Christ. Maybe unfamiliar to some, but that text is from Philippians 1 verses 9 to 10. Now, I don't know how blameless I will be on that day. I will not record here and tell a lie on these people's internet. Something I will not do. But I do know that if I continue to discern that which is meant for my life, my very simple yet sweet, beautiful and colorful life, I think the living could be a lot more bearable for me, and hey, even for anyone that is privileged to experience me, because I'm selfless in the fact that I'm not living only for myself here on earth, only because I know that, I know the being that I am, I know the being who I am, so that anyone who experiences my life is able to discern my pure nature and good intentions. That is my hope. No, don't get it twisted. I don't stay forcing my aura onto anyone. I don't have that time. Believe me. I can assure you with every fiber of my being that I do not have the time or the intent or the wherewithal to force my good aura and my good nature on anybody. You either rock with me or you don't, but I do try to imit my higher self at all times. That's what I'm saying, so that who I am and what I experienced over this life, over the course of my very short time here on earth, it can resonate with those who need me versus those who want me. Gems, be cautious of others. Be cautious of those who need you versus those who only want you. Be cautious of others, seeking the spirit of discernment from the one who grants it, which is none other than our Creator. 1 John 4 verse 1 states, "Beloved, do not believe every spirit, but test the spirits to see whether they are from God. For many false prophets have gone out into the world." So true. Do you know who you're walking amongst? Do you know who you're talking to? Do you know whom you've invited into your presence? Do you know who you're sleeping beside? Do you know who you're riding the bus with? Do you know the other person in the car? Many false prophets have gone out into the world. We will all encounter people, things and experiences that are of no good to ourselves, our spirit, our minds, body and our soul. We will. In every experience, it is vital though to test the waters before getting in too deeply. See where the shallow aspects are and start there. See if the water is too cold for you and back away. Or is it too hot for you and again, back away. See if it's met with clarity, not meandering through the rocks, but see if it's still stable, cautious, revealing to you its true nature, its pure intentions. Be a person who exercises godly wisdom, spiritual discernment, not one who only relies on how the water may look, but rather listen to what it's telling and showing you. John 7:24 tells us not to judge by appearances, but judge with right judgment, with discernment. If there is any cloud of confusion that is currently enveloping you, as it did for me recently, take a step back. Listen to your mind. Sit in complete and total silence. Disconnect from the world and just wait. Wait on the answers you need. Listen to the voice of God. Listen and feel yourself inhale and exhale. Drown out the noise and ask to be spiritually discerning in this ever-changing world. So that if we remember, we must not be conformed to it, but be transformed by the renewing of our minds. So that by testing, we may all discern what is the will of God, what is good, and what is acceptable, gems. Woo! Wow. I surely 100% needed this episode for my own self, and I am just, in a calm state now that I think when I'm ready to re-listen, it won't be for now. So even when this is uploaded, it won't be for now, but when I am ready to re-listen to it, it will resonate so much more now that I've gotten the clarity that I so desperately needed. So I will just leave you with 2 songs that are currently in my playlist and have been on repeat this week. The first one is by my girl. If you know, you know. Her name is Cleo Sol, and the song is entitled Love Will Lead You There. So take a listen. And the other is from an artist actually I have not listened to in a very long time. It's Rum Soul. If you know, you know. If you don't, where have you been? And that song is entitled Call It What You Want. So yeah. And if you're interested, my books of choice this month are Sacred Woman by Queen of Four, I'm rereading, and Destination Fabulous. It's a new one that I picked up off the shelves. It's by Anna Murphy. So if you're interested, go grab a copy. As per usual, peace and love and light. And I will see you all in the next episode. Bye everyone.